Alright guys, this is a extremely long overdue video. I've just been putting it off and putting it off, but it's come to the point where I just got to get it out of the way because I really want to start using this computer. So what I'm doing tonight is reinventing the Windows ME computer that I've featured in 3 previous videos, where I've hacked it to get pure DOS mode and then tested a bunch of games, see how they ran, and had great success with that. But as I started playing around with it after recording those videos, I kind of got into the MIDI capabilities of DOS and various sound cards, and went through day after day of trying different sound cards, trying different configurations. Over the course of a couple months, I acquired various MIDI equipment such as the Roland SC55, the MT32, and a Yamaha MU2000. And I've been learning a lot about how all that works and what doesn't work. And long story short, it turned into a quest to find the holy grail of sound cards that would do everything. And to me, everything is work well in DOS and Windows, have genuine Yamaha OPL3, not have the hanging note bug on MIDI output, and be 100% Sound Blaster 16 compatible. And as far as I can tell, there's only one sound card out there that ticks all of these boxes. And it's not from Creative Labs, it's not Yamaha. It is in fact the Advanced Logic ALS 100. And not to be confused with the ALS 100 Plus, which is a completely different chip and removes the genuine Yamaha OPL3. So I've acquired a few of those cards, and come to find out, they don't work in the gateway that I was using previously. In fact, they don't work on any 440BX or LX motherboard, or the VIA Slot 1 chipset. They don't work on that either. So that's the main reason I'm rebuilding this system. Is I had to find a motherboard that was compatible with the sound card. I had to find a sound card that was compatible with everything I wanted to do. And yeah, that's basically how I got to where I am today. So, let's take a look at the components we're going to put into this thing real quick. Starting with the motherboard here. This is the 8-bit KT7A non-RAID. The RAID ports are missing over here, which doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be using add-in card for storage duties anyways. Looking at the processor here, this is an Athlon XP, and I want to say I put a 1700 on here, but we'll find out when I turn it on. And this is an original Athlon XP cooler that had a green fan on it, but the bearing was shot on it, so I got this Noctua fan, which is nice and quiet, but still should provide enough cooling. The chipset fan here still works, it's not too loud. And I've tossed 256 megabytes of RAM in here, which is an upgrade from the gateway, which I think I only had 64 in. You can see we've got AGP, and down at the bottom, ISA, which is where that sound card will go. And I've tested this, it does work with the ALS 100, so we are good to go there, and it should be plenty fast for anything I want to do in DOS. We're going to go freehand here. So the case I'm using, I'm actually really excited about. It's got that retro look I absolutely love. This DVD drive is just it's a dead drive. It's a blank filler because 2 of the bays were used previously. And then here's a look at the cards that we're going to put in here. This is our SATA controller card. We're going to put a SSD in it. Intel Pro 100 network card. And here is the reason for the season. Advanced Logic ALS 100. This one made by DCS. And if you're looking to buy one of these cards, you want to be careful because most of them do not have a line out port. So all of the cards I've been acquiring do have a line out port, or in this case there's a jumper block right here to switch from line out to speaker out. That's really the only drawback to these cards. You can see they do have the wavetable header, IDE interface, you know, pretty standard for that time. And then of course a Voodoo 3, I believe it's a 3000 for all the video duties. And then kind of exciting, brand new A-Open CD burner with interchangeable faceplates, which of course we're going to use the middle color there, the beige, which should match up pretty perfect with this case. So I'm going to go ahead and get this assembled. I don't intend this to be assembly video. Rather, we're going to get into loading Windows ME again, configuring the sound card, and just kind of showcasing all those features that I've been talking about. So I will see you guys after this is built. Alright, I've got the thing assembled. Haven't turned it on yet, so wanted to record that just in case something goes haywire, you guys get to see it. So here goes. And yep, we're beeping. Alright, that's probably RAM or something, so let me get that fixed and we'll try again after that. Alright, it took me a little while, but I finally figured this out. I think it was a RAM issue, although I'm not exactly sure what kind of issue, because the RAM that was in here was definitely compatible. I started out by swapping a couple different RAM chips into it, still nothing, and then I swapped out the processor to an Athlon 1000 and same thing, wouldn't work. But clearing CMOS at least got rid of the beeps, and then I pulled the SATA controller out and it went back to beeping. So finally I just kept trying RAM and got one that worked. The RAM that worked initially was ECC RAM, which I didn't care to have, so after getting it to post with that, I put some normal PC133 256 high density RAM in there, and now it's working fine. So I don't know, I'm back at the original processor, which is actually an Athlon XP 1800, not a 17, so even better. And this should support up to a 2400 or better, but I don't have anything faster than this 1800 at the moment. So either way, it's running good now. I've got it sitting at the Windows ME boot menu, so let's see if this will read the SSD properly and go from there. We know drive C does not have FAT32 partitions, so let's go into F-disk. No partitions, let's create one, see what we get. It looks like it's reading it. It's 120 gig SSD, brand new. We're just going to create one single large partition because that should work just fine for Windows ME. Oh, wow, this is working. I also had a floppy drive fail error, and I tried to put a disk in it and it would only go halfway in. So I took that all apart and found refrigerator magnets inside. 4 of them. So that tells me what this floppy drive came from, and it's kind of a sneak peek into a different computer that I'm going to be building soon, because there's a little bit of quirkiness like that surrounding that computer. So stay tuned for that one. Alright, exit F disk, reboot. And one of the quirks about this sound card is there's a lot of pops and clicks when you turn the computer on. Alright, so we need to format the C drive. And I don't think Windows ME lets you do the S option. Yeah. Which really stinks, but we can deal with that. Oh, what? It's only seeing 48 gigs? I wonder if that's a limitation of F-Disk or Windows ME. I don't know. I'll let this format, and we'll worry about the size of the partition later on, because I can always resize it with Paragon Hard Disk Manager, possibly Partition Manager from PowerQuest. Figure that out later. So, excuse me. While that's formatting, just want to show you a couple of quirks I ran into with this case. I actually had to pull my blank DVD drive out because it was too long and hitting some capacitors way up inside here in the top corner of the board. I probably can't see that with all the wires in the way, but there's a bunch of capacitors right at the top corner of that motherboard, and it interferes with the second slot there. You can kind of see through the ribbon cables there. Not a big deal. I'm sure I'll find something that fits in there. Another concerning issue is you can kind of see at the bottom of the video card there's 2 capacitors under the heatsink, and that heatsink is actually touching those capacitors. It doesn't seem to be causing a problem, but just something to note. And then finally, there's hardly any clearance at all between the CPU heatsink and the power supply. I don't know that I can really showcase that very easily, but yeah, it's very tight clearance, but so far it doesn't seem to be causing an issue. I'll just have to monitor temperatures once I get Windows running and load it up, make sure we don't have any major issues. Alright, format's finished, and it did actually format, as you can see, the full 120 gigs, minus a little bit due to the way hard drive manufacturers are. I did the dir command, you can see 114 gigs free. So good to go there. I think the CD drive is E. Yep. I also think they got rid of Xcopy. Let's look for that real quick. Yeah, I like Windows 98 because you can use Xcopy to move the setup files over to the C drive and then save a little time. It'll include the subdirectories and all the extra files, even if you don't really need them. I just like it for completeness sake. But no big deal. So we need to make a folder on the C drive, call it Win9X because that's what Windows ME calls it, and then just copy Win9X to C. Actually, no. Cancel that. I gotta have the directory on the C drive. Yep, get retarded sometimes. So, yeah, just basically by doing this, speeds up setup because you're copying files directly from local storage. And later on, if you add or remove features from Windows, you don't need the CD because all the files are right there on the hard drive. Alright, I'm in setup here because I just want to check the temperature. Oh god. Yeah, CPU temperature 64 degrees. I don't think that's too healthy for it. So, wow. That little Noctua fan with the tight clearance there is just not gonna cut it. I need to think about what I can do for that. I mean, it even smells hot if you get up close to it. So, I'm wondering if this case is gonna work because it's just such tight clearance there. Before I blow this thing up, I'm gonna try and solve the temperature issues, and I'll be back after that. So far all it's done is the first step of Windows ME setup, and it's in the middle of the first reboot right now. Alright, I took a fan off another heatsink that spins at a higher RPM. You can see this one's about 4,900 RPM, the other one was maybe 35, somewhere around there. And it's holding the temperature steady at about 46°C, which is a little higher than I'm comfortable with still, but for right now we're gonna have to keep our fingers crossed that it's not gonna blow up because that's all I got. And I do have higher performance heat sinks for this socket, but with that clearance under the power supply, it's probably not gonna fit, and it's incredibly loud. So I don't want it to be loud. I want to hear the games I'm playing. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle here, and if I have to switch to a different chassis or a different processor or whatever, then I may end up doing that. But for now, let's just ride this out and see where we end up. So we'll go ahead and get out of here. And this will be the booting off the SSD for the first time. Hopefully. Alright. Yeah, so far this thing's ridiculously fast as I expected. It's extreme overkill for Windows ME, but it'll really help for like Duke Nukem 3D and those SVGA modes and stuff like that. Alright, it just finished the second phase of Windows ME setup, and temperature is about 53, which it's definitely hot, but I think it's within the limits of things starting to explode. So let's go ahead and do our first boot into Windows and see how it goes. Probably missing all of the drivers, but it does identify Athlon XP 1800, 256 RAM. Yep, there's a sound card, Ethernet controller, RAID controller, and it doesn't know I have a Voodoo 3. So, get all the drivers loaded. Once I can get to the network, I can run some temperature monitor stuff. Maybe Windows ME has some CPU power management features that'll throttle it down a little bit, run cooler at idle, and see if that works. Alright, since the last clip, I've got all the drivers loaded and got a few games installed. Everything's working absolutely fantastic. I tried running hardware monitor to view the CPU temperatures because we know it's running hot, but unfortunately it doesn't read anything on this motherboard, so I have no idea how warm it's getting during gaming. I ordered a 2U pure copper heatsink for this that I'm going to try out, and if that still doesn't drop the temps enough, I'll just probably cut a hole in the top of the case and put an exhaust fan up there because I think that's all it needs. So anyways, on to the sound card because that's what this is all about. The games I've loaded are good tests for compatibility of various things, and we'll go ahead and start with Doom, Ultimate Doom actually, and let you hear what that genuine Yamaha chip sounds like. So pretty good. I turn the volume up here a little bit. It seems to run kind of quiet for some reason. I don't recall that being an issue on some of these other ALS 100 cards I've used, but this particular one seems to be a little bit quiet. Duke 2 is another good game because it uses that ADPCM that only certain sound cards work with, and this card has no problems at all. I love that bass line in this song. Yeah, sounds fantastic, doesn't skip any sound effects. Rise of the Triad, nothing special there. Terminal velocity, this if we run setup here, it'll tell you that selecting Sound Blaster 16 only works on the real Sound Blaster 16. So we're going to do that, see if it works. It says select it if you have a true Sound Blaster 16. We don't, but will it work? I think it does. So we can save and launch here. It does take a couple minutes to load on this computer, which I found for any fast computer just takes a while. No idea why that is. It's complaining about the CD-ROM drive, which I copied all the video files to the C drive. I wonder if I need to also edit an INI file. We've got 22 kilohertz stereo sound, and you can actually edit the INI file to get 44 kilohertz with stereo sound, which it will not let you do through the option menu here. CD-ROM, yeah. So basically, this is for the videos. All you have to do is modify this to the path that you've copied the files to. And then it will play all the cutscenes without the CD. And as far as the sound, under vox.ini here, 44100 right here. Oops, numlock. Will get you some really good sounding music. So let's try that again. Sounds a lot crisper now. If you look at options, sound options, it shows it here, but you can't change it or you'll never get it back to 44 kilohertz. So you can look at it, but you can't change it. There's that cutscene without the CD. Well, this is a different map. Running absolutely beautifully. So I tried installing a expansion pack for this game. I don't think it worked right, because there's some clear issues here. I may need to reinstall this game. So I was going to showcase Duke Nukem 3D, but I don't have that on here because I don't have the Atomic Edition yet, and I was going to download that. But basically this just proves that the sound card is 100% compatible with the Sound Blaster 16. Works absolutely awesome. The MPU 401 external MIDI interface has no glitches whatsoever, especially in Duke Nukem 3D. That's a game notorious for lagging or skipping notes and stuff like that on certain Sound Blaster cards. Does not do that at all. So yeah, overall I am extremely happy with this build, and I've still got a lot more games to get loaded onto here, and I just want to use the damn thing, because it's been months since I've touched the gateway computer that started all this. And so thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.